The comments were unfortunate, whatever they are. We're not sure what they are. Senators Cotton and Perdue do not remember them specifically. Senator Durbin confirmed that they were terrible and awful. And Senators Graham and Chairman Goodlatte and others have said nothing. So we can gather that he used very, very awful language with regards to countries in Africa. Not so about Haiti, not so about El Salvador. But we can all figure it out later. What I think is the underlying point. A week ago when I was here, we were talking about Michael Wolff's book. A week later, we're talking about the president's incendiary comments about various types of countries. It doesn't matter to most of the country's investors, the people who are watching this show right now. He's become detached from the economy, and to a certain extent. The Twitter feed doesn't matter. And I've always wondered when that would happen. It's like liftoff. The president's rhetoric is absolutely divorced from anything that investors do, think, or say. But they are watching very carefully.
We have seen that since the election day, right? I mean, the stock market started to move the day we learned he was going to be president of the country, and it hasn't stopped since. Let me ask you this. You talked about immigration in your op-ed piece. Does what he said in that meeting, which appears to have been quite vulgar, is that going to hurt some kind of deal when it comes to DACA and immigration, or can they still get this done? Is this just more reason for people to have their hair on fire, and yet ultimately they get a deal?
Well, it's great for television ratings to talk about this, and it's awful what the president said, but it does not change the underlying fundamental fact that there are between 700,000 and 800,000 people in the country who have DACA documents that expire in March, and they lose their protection against deportation. If the Democratic Party wants to deliver for them, they've got to get a deal done. There are security conservatives who are concerned about the national security implications of a borderless United States-Mexico border, and they need the wall and they need security. So it's the deal that's too obvious to fail, in my opinion. And I think what came out in the Perdue-Cotton statement that issued about the president's remarks was a signal to everyone. The deal is not dead, but people have to get back to work and focus on it, not on the president's incendiary language.
You want to put a probability on it?
I still think it's better than 50-50 because Democrats suffer and Republicans suffer if the deal doesn't happen. I don't think the government's going to shut down. I don't think Democratic Party wants to be in the position of shutting down the federal government because they haven't got the DACA fix yet. But there are real people out there that need the assurance that the DREAM Act will provide, and there are real people who have to patrol that border and deliver security and stop the input of drugs and human trafficking and all of the dangers that go with trying to get across that desert. There are real pressing needs that must be addressed, and since both sides have an incentive to address them, I think the deal does get done.
Do you think sufficient numbers of Democrats, Hugh, will go along with anything that has the word wall in it, or that the president will go along with anything that doesn't have the word wall in it? And what the hell does wall mean anyway?
Oh, that's the last question is most important. I've always used the word fencing, and I've been arguing for a very long, strong, double-sided fence for over a decade now because it works in San Diego, it works in other parts of Arizona and Texas. It would work at the places on the border that are porous. I don't think the president cares what they call it in the bill. It's what he would call it on the stump. And if he gets border security money that allows him to erect fencing, he's going to call it a win, a big W. The Democrats don't care what he calls it, provided that they make sure that their promise of relief for the dreamers is delivered. And so, again, I come back to the fundamental reality, sort of the S1 of the politics. We've got two parties that have two sets of needs that can only be served if they both get along. Even though this is a terrible day for rhetoric, it's a terrible day for the United States' reputation abroad, still the fundamental pressure for a deal remains.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.